Dear Muslims, dear believers, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayda salam. Hayda salam. Hayda al-falah. Hayda al-falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi azza wa jalla. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Mubad ayyuhal muslimin. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, the perfect praise belongs to God, the guardian reviver, the cherisher, keeper, sustainer of all the worlds, of all the systems of knowledge. We render all praises to him, and we seek his help, and we ask his forgiveness. We put our complete faith and trust in him. Mighty and sublime is he. I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except Allah alone, one and only. There is none like unto him. And I bear witness that Prophet Muhammad is Allah's servant, messenger, prophet to all of mankind. We ask Allah's peace, his blessings, his highest exaltations be upon Prophet Muhammad, upon his family, his companions, the righteous all. On you, all Muslims, be peace. We greet you again in the beautiful language of the Quran. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
And what follows of this excellent salutation or salute to our Prophet Muhammad, the prayers and the peace be on him. Dear Muslim, I advise you as well as myself to fear Allah and obey Allah. Have taqwa, have the highest regard for God and obey God. Dear believers, our talk for this Juma Khutbah or lecture is marriage in Al-Islam. Marriage in Al-Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is God, the sacred and the mighty, says in his holy book, the Quran, marry those among you who are single, or the virtuous ones among your slaves, male or female. If they are in poverty, Allah will give them means out of his grace. For Allah encompasses and knows all things. Sadaqallahu Azim. Allah the Mighty spoke the truth. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the prayers and the peace be on him, report says, marry a woman for 4 reasons. 1, her beauty. 2, her wealth. 3, family linkage or background. 4, because she is a believer. The prophet said, if you marry a woman for any other reason than her being a believer in God, you will be a loser. Webster's Dictionary said about this word marriage. It says, a state of being married, the mutual relation of husband and wife, wedlock, the institution whereby men and women are joined in a special kind of social and legal dependence for the purpose of founding and maintaining a family. So, as we proceed, when a man decides that he wants to marry a Muslim woman, he has to first qualify himself. The man has to prepare a clean and wholesome environment for her. He must be able to call the adhan and the iqamah. Once he marries her, he becomes the Imam in the house. He must establish prayer and lead his wife and children in salah. Make sense? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says the best thing that a man can have is a good wife. And I bear witness to that. So the best thing that a man can have. Now what does that include? That includes everything. Money, opportunities, cars, clothes. The prophet said the best thing that a man can have is a good wife. You know, and that implies, especially a believing woman, a woman that that prays with you, and fasts with you. Well, believe like you believe. Can't get nothing better than that. You get up in the morning for fashion. She might beat you up. She might beat you up there first. But when you stand, she stands beside you, and you both acknowledge the Lord of all the worlds before the sunrise. Can't get nothing better than that. The prophet said, treat your wife good. He said, the best of you are those who treat their wives good. He said, treat them good even when they are not good. Even when you're mad, disgruntled, or ticked off at something that they may have done or may not have done, the prophet said, still treat them good. Abu Hurairah reported, the prophet said, whoever believes in Allah and the last day should not hurt, trouble his neighbor. And I advise you to take care of your women, for they are created from a rib, and the most crooked portion of the rib is its upper part. If you try to straighten it, it will break. And if you leave it, it will remain crooked. So I urge you to take care of the women. Let me give you some insight on that. The Mujaddid, Imam W.D. Muhammad said, the rib represents that the woman is responsible for the social life, especially in the home, with her husband, children, the gifts. That's the woman's role. See, you think about it. You wouldn't hardly have nothing going on in your home except if your wives are instituted. They're the one who get in contact with the sisters and the mother and the cousin and the grandchildren and get the food fixed, etc., etc. They're the one who you should allow to decorate the house. Let her pick the color of curtains that she wants. That's her role. That's the rib. If you interfere with that, then you're subject to cause a disturbance for her and for you. That's the rib. Now, when we decide to get married, like I hope all of us have done, especially those who are not married. When we decide to get married, we should not just be looking for a husband or wife. Now listen, this is very important. We should try to find our soulmate. The word in the Quran is zawj. A zawj is the one who will fuse with you like this, like the hands coming together like this. That's zawj. Like this, the husband and the wife will be moving together in the same direction and thinking together for the common good of the relationship. So they ain't necessarily going to be a wife or a husband. No telling what he may want to do, or what idea he have about what he's supposed to do with his money, or etc. There ain't no telling what she wants to do, whether she wants to do this or do that. But when you zawj, when you have a zawj, the two of you are fused together like this right here. And so that's your soulmate. That's the one you might be able to marry for the first one, and may not have to get married no more. May not have to be no statistics. That 1 out of every 3 marriages in divorce. That's what you're looking for, your soulmate, zawj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He created you all from a single person, then created of like nature his mate. See? So you don't want to get somebody that don't have the same kind of concerns and desires, even maybe the proper amount of intellectual education. You want to find somebody who is your mate, in your thinking, in your beliefs. Well, what did I do? How did I do this? I guess not right. So sisters, you know what you like. Sisters, they know what they like. So when you meet a man, sisters, that you may be interested in, this is my suggestion. You don't have to follow. But from my experience, I would tell you, first, check his hygiene. Check his hygiene. Then have him vetted or thoroughly checked out by the strong believers in the community. Thoroughly. And talk to his family, his mother, his father, etc. Don't get excited about nothing about him at first. Check him out yourself. Look at this man and say, is this somebody that I can build something with? One thing about it, if he's thinking, you can't build nothing with him. If he's dirty, you can't do nothing with him. If you don't have proper hygiene, that should tell you something right there. Say you get past that, the physical part. You need to talk to the strong believers, not the believers, just the strong believers who've been around, and say, do you know so and so and so and so so and so so and so? What can you tell me about him? Or what can you tell me about her? And then you go talk to her mother. Mama, what kind of man is he? And a lot of times the mother will be truthful. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't like to pin up behind yourself. You're looking for a man like that. My son ain't like that. I ain't going to tell you don't marry him. I'm letting you know right now. He's trifling. You go talk to his father. Father will tell you, see what kind of father, see what kind of father he has. Because marrying a person, their background, their family linkage, that has a lot to do with it. That's why the prophet said you can marry a woman because of her family background, her family linkage. What kind of family does she come from? What has been his or her upbringing? What did they learn around their parents? That's who you talking about marrying. It ain't their fault if all they know is foolishness nonsense. It ain't their fault if their parents were alcoholics and they saw their father and mother drinking, smoking, gambling, cursing, lying. It ain't their fault that they take on the same personality. But is that what you want? I don't think that's what you really want. That's why you got to find out. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that cleanliness is a part of faith. That's part of your faith, being clean. We're talking about marriage in al-Islam. Another way of putting it, we're talking about marriage in our religion. We ain't talking about marriage in somebody else's religion, what they do, Africans, Nigerians, Europeans, whatever, that's fine, that's their culture. But that ain't our culture. We're talking about specific things in our culture, and our life, our religion, and our deen as Muslim and Muslimah, male and female Muslims and believers, mu'min. Brothers and sisters, I sound like Professor Abdullah now. Brothers and sisters, be very careful who you choose to marry, and who you marry your daughters and sons to. Depending on who you choose to marry can be a heaven or a hell. I remember one time this brother was having a problem with his wife in the days of the Nation of Islam. And so he went to the Abdullah Muhammad. And he told him what the problem was. He was complaining about his wife. And the Abdullah Muhammad said, brother, you chose her. You chose her. He said, oh, this, wait, what can I do? That's what he said. I can't do nothing. That's what you chose. So we have to be very careful at the outset when we decide to marry somebody that we plan on establishing our life with. You have to be very careful who you choose, because that's going to have an effect on your ability to be a believer. It's real hard to be a believer if you're a man and you don't have a good supporting wife. It's very hard for a woman to be a good believing woman if she don't have a strong supporting man. And that can happen. And guess what, sister? This is a caveat for you, sisters. See, in our religion, if you're single, you don't have to wait for a man to approach you. You can approach him and step to him and say, brother, what's going on? See, that's our religion. You're not approaching them for no other reason than the fact that you're looking for a husband. Because some of these brothers, they don't have proper motivation. They don't have the proper priorities. They don't know how to get a wife. Some brothers, unfortunately, they don't know how to get a wife. So a sister in our religion can step to you and say, brother, what's going on? What's your name? Are you married? My name is Sister so-and-so. And I'm trying to get married sooner than later. That's in our religion. Even so, some men and women may not be suitable for each other. They may not have enough things in common for a mate. And we should make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be patient. We should make dua. And this is a dua that's in the Quran. I tell people all the time when they come to me about they can't find a wife, they can't find a husband. And this dua is for male and female, even though it says wives. It says, Allah says, and those who pray, see, they make dua. Our Lord, grant unto us wives and offspring, which will be the comfort of our eyes, and give us the grace to lead the righteous. That's Surah 25, 74, Surah 25, 74. Don't take it for granted. It works. And then after you make that dua, you keep making that dua, you look up, you don't know who the person is going to be. You look up, and Sister so-and-so, be looking in your face and smiling, Assalamu alaikum. What's Assalamu alaikum? Or the brother walk up to the sister and say, Sister, I've been noticing you. And you know, I've been seeing you come to the community, come to the masjid, come to the center. I know that you're always well dressed, and a good personality. Sister, are you married? No, I'm not married. Well, let's talk about that then. That's how you get married in Islam. And that's reported that the Prophet said, when a man has married, he has fulfilled half of his religion. Then let him fear Allah for the remaining half. Once you get married, big as this religion is, it's big, it's huger than we can imagine. But once you get married, half of it is done. Then the Prophet said, then have taqwa. See, the word fear is taqwa. They then have regard for God for the other half. Conduct yourself a certain kind of way, always, for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's your other half. Now I'm going to give you a little narrative now. This report is from the Sirah, or the history of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is from his history. A ugly man. Now you got to get pictorial now. Now you got to use your mind. Got to draw a picture. A ugly man went to the Prophet, telling him that he wanted to get married. Now you can imagine how hard that would be. Fortunately for us, none of us that we see right here are ugly. But that's a great burden. That's a great handicap. So this ugly man went to the Prophet, telling him that he wanted to get married. The Prophet sent him to the house of a beautiful woman. The ugly man asked the woman's father, "Can I marry your daughter?" The father said, "I will not marry you to my daughter." Precisely, direct. Then the man went to her brother. You know how brothers are. And asked if he could marry his sister. The brother said, "No," emphatically, exclamation mark. "You cannot marry my sister." Now you get the picture. You got a picture now. This is an ugly man that's talking. Then the beautiful woman in question, she came up on the scene. She said, "Who told you to come here and ask me to marry you?" The ugly man said, "The Prophet told me to come here and ask you to marry me." The woman said, "If the Prophet sent you here to marry me, who am I to tell you no?" Now this is what I get from that story. The moral of the story is what I got from that story. That if an ugly man that has a handicap from day one, ugly people are under a lot of burden. It's a big test for them. Whether they're born that way, or whether they get burned in a fire, or they get shot in the face, or they get disfigured. So they got the main handicap because nobody, generally speaking, really wants to marry and be with an ugly person. But if the story is correct, if an ugly man can get a wife, there's no excuse for any of us that's not married. That's the whole moral of the story. Let's make dua. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim wa barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim fil alamin innaka hamidun majid. Allahu Akbar. So as we continue, and we're not belaboring, because we got a few things on here we want to touch on. I've been giving you some background for what I want to say to you. Now, I want to give you some background about us here at the New African Islamic Community Center in Washington, D.C. Especially some background about myself. I became a Muslim 43 years ago, starting in the Nation of Islam during the time of the Honorable Black Muhammad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him for his sins and bless him with paradise. After his passing, I spent the entire 33 years as a loyal student of Imam Muhammad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him and bless him with paradise. I've been your Imam here, if you will accept it, for the last 10 years. Some of you knew me before I came here. Imam Muhammad taught his students for 33 years. Some, like myself and others, he taught in small groups. And some he taught one-on-one. I was one of them that the Imam taught one-on-one. Just me and him. Nobody know what he said but me. Nobody know what I told him but him. Why am I telling you these things? It is because I want to tell you some things that I heard from Imam Muhammad that you may not know or understand. I want you to listen closely and trust me as your Imam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with the orphans, marry women of your choice, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with them, then only one, or the captive that your right hands possess. That will be more suitable to prevent you from doing injustice. So yes, it's gonna get good now, y'all. So y'all get ready. It's gonna get good now. So yes, a man can have more than one wife in Islam, but it is not the rule. It is the exception. The Prophet said, a man having more than one wife is like standing on a banana peel. He has 1 foot on the earth and the other in the grave. So if he doesn't treat both of them right, he can fall into the grave. That's how difficult it is having more than one wife. But you can have one, more than one. More than one wife is not encouraged in our religion. There should be a need for a second wife. If not, the second wife may not be recognized. If you just go out and get another woman, come back to the community, come back to your family, that's going to cause a problem. She might not even be recognized. The man, now I got this from Imam Muhammad, the man does not have to get permission from his current wife to take on another wife, but he should. This can cause problems in his marriage and the family. He don't have to get permission from her, but Imam Muhammad said he should. The Quran, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what Allah says. He says one wife is better. No, the Quran does not say if you but knew. That's translation. They don't say if you but knew. One wife is better. And that's what the United States government said the same thing. They recognize one wife. But that don't mean you can't have more than one. You just have to understand the parameters and the conditions, the circumstances. Sure, if there is a need, a man can have more than one wife. He can have up to 4, according to the Quran and Allah's Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when he first mentioned in the Quran, Allah said, tie this marriage into the orphans. If the children are without a father because of all of the wars and upheaval that they're having right now, that kind of condition persisted then. So rather than have the wives, women by themselves, with nobody to take care of them, or for them to have to become weak, sexually weak, then Allah prescribed that the man who was surviving take on some more of these other women. It's because of the children. It's because of the other women. It's not because you want to be high, fancy, and just get another wife. And especially if you want to get another wife just because you are lustful. Now let me tell you something about lust. Imam Muhammad says, another reason to get another wife, if you are a highly sexual type man, and one woman not enough for you, rather than break the laws of God, get another wife. So these are practical reasons. Because our Islam is balanced. One woman just can't satisfy you. So you get another wife. Might have to get 4 if you're a bad man. Now this is what he said, another reason why you can get another wife. If the present wife becomes unable to fulfill her duties because she becomes ill, she might fall into serious illness, and therefore she just can no longer do the things that normally expected of a wife. Or she may become mentally incapacitated. Imam Muhammad married a woman that had mental problems, and he had children by her. But the husband, under those situations, those conditions, he should continue to keep her and take care of her and her children. So I want to read you this now from Imam Muhammad. I'll read this to you and see what you got this right here. He was attending a business forum. Well, matter of fact, this is in his book, Islam for Business Success, and it's regard for higher power, managing self and family. Now we're gonna be able to relate to this right here, especially if you were in business. You're gonna be able to relate to this right here. Like most things he said. That's what he said. He said, men are the ones who are supposed to bring that money in and take care of the rent, the utilities, and give wives and children their due. It's painful to have one's wife looking at him, producing nothing for children, and the bills are never caught up. Yet some men will pop in surprise and tell his wife, quote, I want you to meet Sister Sultan, and I want to make her my second wife, end of quote. Now we know there are Islamic grounds for polygamy, where you can have more than one wife, before being a limit. But if you are reading the Quran, you know also that you cannot have a second wife without regard for the financial qualifications. When a man marries a second wife, he should be marrying her because he has the material means and the financial strength to take care of more. If he is not meeting his responsibilities now, how does he look asking for a second wife? Some will say, sister, would you like a second wife? Now when the brother starts talking, when the brother starts calling his wife's sister, look out. He will start stammering in Arabic. Sister, I want to show you something in the Quran. You mean you are telling me that I can't have a second wife? And he will be shocked by her response. No, she said, no, I'm not telling you that. You can have a divorce, but not a second wife. What I have given you, why I have given you so much attention to this serious matter of the home life and the responsibilities of the male, it is because I'm influenced by a statement by qualified authorities in business who are conducting seminars throughout this country. As I said earlier, these authorities that have these authorities state one of the main causes of failure for a small business man is a bad home life. And most of the bad home life for us, African Americans, is because we will not work hard to have honor in the home. So you see how Imam Muhammad thought about it. And I bear witness. If you're trying to run a business, I hope y'all don't have this kind of problem. If you're trying to run a business, and you don't have a supporting wife at home, you go back home, and after you've been dealing with situations all out in the street, dealing with the public, etc., and you go home, and you got an uncooperative wife at home, buddy, you in hell. Mm-hmm. You in hell. And you need, I might say, you need to change your direction. You need to change your situation. You need to change your kibble. Like Imam, he's been pointing, like he told his son when he came into the house. Asked Imam's son, how was things going? And the wife said, oh, we have so much hard, said things ain't getting met like it should be getting met, right? So Ibrahim told us, look, my son come home, just tell him I came back. So when he came home, she said it was an older man here. She didn't know who it was. They came by and they asked how we were doing, and she told him how we were doing. So when they seen his son, he said, Ibrahim, he said, you need to change your kibble. So Ibrahim knew what his father was, knew he was a righteous man, a prophet. So he divorced her. So he came back again, and he had remarried. And Ibrahim asked the same questions. And how's everything going? The sister said, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. No complaints. So he met his son again and told him, said, keep that one. So if you got a sister that's not supporting you, and you in business, trying to make money, trying to deal with the public, you in hell. Trying to take her and trying to take care of the children, and she's not supporting you. Now I'm making this point for another reason. Imam Muhammad said that if you're in business, you can marry your secretary. Why? This is a Latin root word. Secretary means secret. They can keep secrets, and she can help you with your business. So that's another reason why you can marry a second wife. You run a big business, man, and you're taking care of your family, and your wife don't understand. She don't have no concept about what you're doing, and you're dealing with your secretary all the time, and she's keeping all your records and keeping things secret for you, and supporting you. That's she's a candidate for the wife. Frederick Douglass he married his secretary. He had one wife, he married another wife, he married his secretary. So there must be something to that. Now we're addressing, so we come to the end now. Now we're addressing marriage and Al-Islam. Let's look at two words. I'm coming to the end. This is what I've been saying all this to make these real strong points. get your mind to the condition where you will listen and learn. Look at two words. And they're very important aspects of our religion, our deen. The first word is marriage, and the second word is nikah. They both may suggest the same thing, but they are different and properly understood. Marriage and nikah. Similar, sound the same, but when you properly understand them, they are different. Like you, some of you might have, I witnessed a wedding where the bride is in one part of the house and the groom is in the other part. Also, you may know, weddings take place in some parts of the world where the man is in one part of the country or the world and the woman is in another part of the country or the world. Her father might throw her to this man, this person, this hopefully believer. He might be living in Pakistan. She might be living in New York. But they are bound to get married. In Islam, that marriage is not recognized. It is not recognized until the couple consummates the union. Until they do, they both can go their separate ways without getting a divorce. And that's called an annulment. Ain't nothing transpired. He ain't took care of business. So he can't say, that's my wife. Has to be a consummation. Consummation. Now, marriage in Islam, when it's properly performed, based on the Quran and the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when marriage in Islam is properly performed, it's called nikah. See, nikah? It is called nikah because nikah means intercourse. See the difference? If you have a nikah, that means intercourse. It's time to go home and get busy. Or go wherever you're going to go. The marriage has to be consummated in order for the couple to say that they are truly married and that they are husband and wife. Now, I'll deviate for a minute because people are not here. I married a couple. I counseled them first. And then we married them in accordance to the Quran and the Sunnah. And then I got a call back from the bride, surprisingly, and she had a legitimate complaint. She said that he can't do it. So y'all, we regular people now, so y'all know what I'm talking about. She said he can't do it. What? Did you know that? No. He never told me that he couldn't do it. We tried everything, but nothing successful. So they annulled the marriage. They annulled it. She said, what do I have to do? I don't have to do nothing. But make it known that you're not going to no longer be with him because he's not your legal wife. He's not your legal husband. He's not your legal wife because y'all haven't consummated the marriage. And they're still good friends right now. You know, and they went their separate ways. Now, I gave you this background in order for you to understand what I really want to tell you about. because you wouldn't be able to, may not be able to digest it. But what I really want to talk to you about is the marriage between Prophet Muhammad and his wife Aisha. That's where I'm going. The enemies of Al-Islam are telling the world, and they want us to believe, that the Prophet was a pedophile or a child molester because he married Aisha when she was a little girl. Now, anybody that do that in any modern society, if you marry a little girl, like they're doing, like these great big old 70, 80-year-old men are buying these Pakistani girls and buying these girls from India because their families can't take care of them. They're living real bad. So they have these girls and they sell their daughters. They sell them. And they sell them to these rich or financially rich Saudis or Jordanians or whoever these pedophiles are. So if they saying that Prophet Muhammad married a little girl and they ain't giving the understanding on it, then they are saying at least they imply that the Prophet was a child molester. He's a pedophile. So we want to clear that up. They don't understand our religion. Don't expect people who are not Muslims and people who do not believe in Islam. Do not expect these people to like your religion. In fact, some of them hate our religion. And the people who put out these slanders and go and find these things, they're the ones who hate Islam. They hate you because you say that there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger for no other reason. You haven't done nothing to them. You haven't discriminated against them. You might be the best neighbor they have or whatever, but when they're bigots and racists and hateful people, and even worse, when they're self-righteous, the worst ones are the self-righteous. They have a monopoly on God. They're the worst. They hate it. Or they spread these things. Now let me tell you about Aisha. Radiallahu anha. Allah is pleased with her. When Abu Bakr, a close companion of the Prophet, he betrothed Aisha to the Prophet. But that's the key. Remember what I told you? But they had no nikah until she was 19 years old, according to the scholars. He accepted her to be his wife, and she moved in his household, and she interacted with him. She sees how he did everything. And then when she became 19 years old, they had the consummation. Now, what did Aisha do in that period of time? She learned the whole Quran. She was one of the few who learned the whole Quran, Hafiz. She was responsible for over 2,600 hadiths. She was a hadith scholar. She taught the companion. She taught the learned. They came to her. Now, Aisha, she was a very special and unique woman. Now, how can you see that? Do you think these women, 500 years ago, don't go back to no 1,400 years ago. That's you can't find those things. But look at the women 300 and 400 and 500 years ago. You think a 12-year-old girl was like these? Oh, I almost said the wrong word. Like these 21-year-old women today? By the time they was 12 years old, they was cooking, washing, cleaning, farming, taking care of babies, taking care of the house. Their whole disposition would be different. When Aisha was a little girl, she was more stronger and more sophisticated and more wiser than a 21-year-old woman. You understand that? The condition that they lived under, none of us as men, we could not live under the conditions that Aisha and her family lived under. We too soft. We couldn't live under the conditions they lived under. No food, no water, no heat, no air, running for their lives. You ain't never experienced none of those things. So you have to look at the big picture of what type of people these people were. Her father was a righteous man, Abu Bakr Siddiq. He was a successful businessman. He was the closest companion to the Prophet. These people had high ethics and high morals. They would have never put a situation together like that would have caused anything to happen like that to Aisha. That's what we have to understand. Don't worry about what they think and what they say, but we got to understand that our Prophet, his character is unapproachable. Allah said he stands on the most exalted pattern of conduct. Exalted pattern. Hooligan Azim. Hooligan Azim. Mighty, look, Azim. Mighty pattern of conduct. So he would never took anybody in, including Aisha, with other wives he had. And Aisha became his most favorite wife. And his last breath was laying in Aisha's lap. And the other wives would allow her to get their time up and let him go to Aisha. So he said after Khadija, Lady Khadija, his most favorite wife was Aisha. You're young, youthful. You better get you one. Getting an old woman that can't function and can't take care of business. If you ain't married, better get you a young woman, a younger woman. Take it from me. I like to put myself in it all the time, right? So, okay, that's enough on that right there. So, he accepted Aisha from her father, Abu Bakr, when she was 9. And according to the scholars, they did not have sexual intercourse until she was 19. That's the shaitan. That's the jealousy. Also, we're coming to the end now. We're still going to be on time, inshallah. Also, I got this in my mind. Those people, also during the time of the Prophet, you could marry your cousins. That was part of the culture. That's part of the way of life. You can marry your cousins. But the emphasis is not on marrying your cousins. See, those people were not lascivious. See, those people, none of the Prophet and people around him, all his family members, everybody associated with him, they weren't lascivious people. They were not immoral. They had control over their sexual urges and desires. They're not like us. See, none of us can compare with anybody that was associated with the Prophet. The least one of us. We can't compare with these people. Because they wasn't right with the Prophet when he was receiving divine revelation. And they sold him life. They emulated his life. They listened to every word he said. If he made voodoo, there was somebody that catch the water that dropped off of him. They were there to catch the water that dropped off him. They knew that was blessed. They're not like us. They're not like the European people, the lascivious people. They're not like Negroes that we know, that go from man to man and woman to woman. That's not the kind of people that they were. These people have been bred and raised properly in the eyesight of the Prophet and his companions and the family members. So they were allowed, they were permissible to marry. Now, what about today? Yeah, if you find a cousin like that, then you can marry. If you find a cousin like that, you can marry. Because in Al-Islam, it's permissible. That's the bottom line. Those are what we should know. So, I said everything I need to say. At this point in time, I hope we got some understanding. Oh yeah, and the people of the book, let me say this real fast. See, this is what Allah first said. It's one word. Allah said, marry those among you who are single. So this is telling you, if you are single, this is not an option this is a mandate from God that you get married. That's the first thing. He said, "Or the virtuous ones among your slaves." And he says, marry those among you. What that means, brother? That means if you're not married, you need to get married. But you don't run around trying to find no woman no place else. You ain't trying to find no woman in the safe way. You're not trying to find a woman in the job. You're not trying to find a woman on your job. I met a nice sister. You need to marry among those that are around you. A sister is living a decent Islamic life. You are obligated to marry her. She deserves to be married by a Muslim man. Not come to me and say, "Brother Imam, I want to get married, and I met this guy. This guy is real nice, but he's not a Muslim." But I can't find no Muslim men that want to get married. I hear that. You've heard that. Because we are not being responsible. The Muslim men in these communities, they are despicable and they should be ashamed of themselves. To let a chaste Muslim woman not be married and not take on the responsibility of take on the social responsibility, which is a hallmark of getting married. When you get married, you take on your share of social responsibility. Take care of family. Stop all that carousing around. Stop all that fornicating. Because if you ain't got a wife, you ain't fooling nobody but yourself. You sinning. You ain't fooling nobody but yourself. Heard Imam Muhammad say that too. If you ain't married, it's a sin not to be married, and you ain't fooling nobody but yourself. When you get married, and that woman becomes a covering for you. That's your covering. The woman becomes your protection. That helps you lower your gaze, because you can have a hard time out here with no wife. Because the prophet said 2 things that'll get a man into the hellfire. He pointed to him. He pointed to his mouth, and he pointed to his private parts. You have a hard time out here if you ain't married. Hard time. These women gonna make sure of that. And some faggots, you may get thrown all the way off if you ain't got no wife. Because when you get ready to relieve yourself, what did the prophet do? Those who know the history, the prophet said he loved perfume and he loved women. He was a man just like us, except that he was a messenger of God. He said, "I love perfume and I love women." And one time, when he was out on an excursion, he saw a woman that affected him such a way, so he ran home and dove into his life. Now, what you think you're going to do? You going to fool me? 5 years, 6 years, you said you ain't got no wife. Man, you been playing with your own self. That, no pun intended. So let's get ourselves together, man. If we got a wife, do what the prophet said do. Treat your wives good. He said those are the best men. And even if she don't do good, still treat her good. And if you see something in her that you don't like, find something in her that you do like. And don't hold your wives in contempt. Because they're a way of paradise for us. They are a way of paradise for us, and we are a way of paradise for them. And they're a way of displeasure for us, and we are a way of displeasure for them. So Allah will bless us. So we're gonna make dua, and then we'll. So Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wa aqimatis salah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah, ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayda salah, hayda salah, hayda falah, hayda falah. Got to come to salah, got to come to salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
La ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah. أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
آمين.
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سيدنا محمد الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
آمين. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Takbir.
الله أكبر.
Takbir.
الله